President Biden announces what his first move will be if the Democrats hold on to the majority in the House and Senate. But that's a big if, as the concern over the economy keeps growing. NTD's Iris Tao has more.
And when Congress passes it, I'll sign it in January, 50 years after Roe was first decided the law of the land.
That's President Biden announcing today that the first thing he'll do if Democrats retain control of Congress will be to codify Roe versus Wade. Let's take a listen.
And together we'll restore the right to choose for every woman in every state in America. So vote. You got to get out the vote. We can do this if we vote.
And Biden also vows to veto any federal abortion ban by Republicans. And that's as he also touches on gun control.
And by the way, if you give me a Democratic Congress, we're going to ban assault weapons again.
All these promises, meanwhile, rely on the premise that Democrats win in the upcoming elections. But recent polls have shown Republicans gaining an edge as the economy becomes the top focus. A New York Times and Siena College poll released on Monday shows that more than 40% of potential voters put economy and inflation as their top concerns, while only about 5% say they're more worried about abortion. Republicans, meanwhile, are highlighting economic policies in their campaigns. Here are two candidates speaking in Monday night debates.
My desire is to continue to help them fight through 40-year high inflation and high gas prices and other things that our Georgia families are facing right now, quite honestly, because of bad policies in Washington, D.C.
While people can't afford the cost of groceries, they're not actually paying attention to the concerns of everyday voters in this state who are getting crushed by the policies that you supported.
And some journalists were questioning on Twitter about why Biden chooses to focus on abortion while the economy is apparently a bigger issue. And the White House Chief of Staff responded saying it's not an either or and that Biden will be talking about gas prices on Wednesday. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Iris Tao, NTD News.
While the price of groceries and other goods skyrocket, gas is declining just a bit. The fears of a global economic recession have led to a drop in the price of crude oil. It's down $7. According to the Energy Information Administration, gas demand decreased nationally last month as well. The national average for gas dropped by about 3 cents over the past week. It's down to $3.88, but it's still 20 cents higher than a month ago and 56 cents more than a year ago. The Department of Health and Human Services is announcing an historic investment in the nation's mental health infrastructure.
We are making a major commitment of $300 million to make that possible.
The department plans to establish clinics throughout the country. This is a behavioral health model that was established and authorized in 2014. It was a result of bipartisan work between Republican Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri and Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow of Michigan. The senators say they have been working on the bill for about 10 years. Early voting is underway in over a dozen states across the country, and over 2 million people have already cast their votes. About 1.8 million of those are from mail-in ballots, according to data on University of Florida's electproject.org. Analysts are saying that this election's early voting is well above 2018 midterms. In Georgia, a record number of early voters have already cast their ballots. Early voting kicked off Monday, and 100,000 votes are already in. The first day record of the 2018 midterms was 72,000 votes. This midterm cycle is expected to have a record-breaking number of voters. 3 weeks remain before November 8th, and millions of more ballots are left to count. The Department of Agriculture has rolled out debt relief to thousands of farmers in financial difficulties. This is 2 months after the Inflation Reduction Act was signed into law. The USDA has $3.1 billion to go toward helping farmers with loans, with $2.2 billion earmarked for farmers who have, quote, experienced discrimination, end quote. According to the USDA, more than 13,000 borrowers have received the relief thus far, totaling nearly $800 million. As we face record inflation and historic energy prices, farmers are among the first to feel the effects, which then get passed down to the rest of us. Here to discuss the challenges farmers are facing, we're happy to have on President of the National Black Farmers Association, John Boyd. John, you voted Democrat in the past, if I'm correct. However, as an American farmer, you've expressed frustration with the current administration. What are some of the issues that you're facing?
Well, some of the issues we're facing now is the broken promise between Black and other farmers of color and the debt relief, the $4 billion debt relief that was repealed, and the IRA. So the administration totally pulled the rug for this whole measure, and now want to offer Blacks and other farmers of color some sort of loan repair. So we went from 120% debt forgiveness, which means 100% of your loan will be written off, and 20% to pay the taxes, to some sort of loan modification. And the administration broke its promise, and we see it like a broken promise, like 40 acres and a mule. So this past week, we filed a complaint in federal court, and I brought my mule to Washington. And like I said, the president failed to do what he promised America's Black and other farmers of color. And you're correct, we did vote for him, and I supported him. And last July, at the White House, the president said that he would have a FaceTime meeting with me. Since that time, it hasn't been a FaceTime meeting with the president. I see that as another broken promise. Nor has the agriculture secretary had a sit-down meeting to discuss any of these issues out.
So you're saying the president gave you his word to have a sit-down, and that is yet to happen. What is it that you'd like to discuss with him?
Well, we want to talk about, why, first of all, why would you break this broken promise to 16,000 farmers of color in the worst economic times in U.S. history for farmers? We're facing a food shortage in this country. We have the highest input costs that we have. We have many farmers who are in farm foreclosure. And people need to understand, once you lose your farm, it breaks your spirit. So it's not like losing a job at a fast food restaurant. You lose your livelihood and your way of life. And land prices has risen in this country. We have people like China who are buying these land farms at auction. And this is a country who still supports slavery. And they shouldn't be allowed to buy land on American soil. We have billionaires buying our farms. I've seen record number sales in Iowa for $26,000 an acre. So we called on the administration to stop farm foreclosures in the form of direct loans, guaranteed loans, other agricultural lenders such as Farm Credit and other third-party agriculture lenders. A full farm moratorium, and the administration still hasn't put that into place.
It sounds like there's a wide range of challenges that U.S. farmers are facing. At the end of the day, do you think all of the challenges that you're facing as of late boil down to the cost of energy?
Oh, absolutely. And this is politics, and it is midterm elections. And the National Black Farmers Association alone has 116,000 members in 46 states. And we want to hear from these candidates who are running for office to see what they would do differently to help bring us some relief. In the richest country in the world, why aren't we helping America's farmers first? And that should include Black farmers. We have money for farmers in Ukraine. John Deere, other agriculture companies pledged to help them in forms of equipment and monies, but they failed to help America's Black and other farmers of color right here at home. They gave Ukraine $250 million for their farmers for infrastructure, and infrastructure that I've been asking for Black farmers in this country for nearly 4 decades, and we haven't received that. And the debt relief measure that I'm speaking to you about today is a 3-decade-old request from me. And now the administration says, well, we're just going to help distressed farmers and just help them bring their loans up to date. When you don't keep your word, my daddy said that's not a whole man. When you look a man in his eye and you give him your word. The president went back on his word to help Black farmers in this country. And we're going to look at that during election time. And we're also going to take a strong look at that during this re-election campaign. He's going to have to come tell us something totally different than what he's telling us right now.
John Boyd, really appreciate your perspective.
Thank you for having me.
The Girl Scouts of America have received its largest donation ever from a single individual. Mackenzie Scott, the ex-wife of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, gifted the organization $84.5 million. Scott and the national chapter will choose 29 local councils to receive the funds for membership grants and developing programs to prepare girls for leadership. The group said there will be an expanded focus on career readiness and mental wellness. The Girl Scouts of America calls itself the largest leadership organization for girls in the entire world, with 1.7 million girl members.